market has been suffering from especially losses on the corporate companies that are listed, with some, of course, coming in to raise more capital. And this is through the exchange. We're going to be analyzing that situation there in Kenya. But looking elsewhere in Africa, across Africa, in Ghana, we have Johannesburg data. We have as well the Nigeria Stock Exchange data, as we are going to break that down. Let's start off with West Africa and go to Ghana Stock Exchange. In Ghana, remember, we have over close to 18 listings on the Ghana Stock Exchange, with companies like MTN Ghana being the top traded on companies in the Ghana Stock Exchange. Now, on Monday morning, by the end of the day, on 26th of June, at least over 14,000 shares were traded on Ghana Stock Exchange, with the total of 30,000 traded in terms of the amount. And then when you look at the aggregate participation, we had 15 equities listed on the exchange participate in trade on the Ghana Stock Exchange. Now, the day ended, fortunately, with one gainer, MTN Ghana, and MTN Ghana appreciated by 3.17% on the Ghana Stock Exchange. When you look at MTN's performance in the last couple of days and months, in the 1 week performance, in the MTN Ghana stock has appreciated by 4.84%, whereas in the last 1 month, at least 20.4% has been added to their value as a company. In 6 months, over 47.7% has been added to MTN Ghana's stock price. Quite interesting trade there and interesting performance from MTN Ghana. We also had the Fan Milk Company trade volumes. We had, of course, MTN Ghana record the highest volume of 7,999 shares, and Fan Milk as well, with EcoBank Transnational as well coming in the participants, and Benso Oil Palm Plantation, another very interesting stock there at the Ghana Stock Exchange. Regarding the performance of the benchmark index, the Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index increased by 48.70 points, which closed at 2,785 points on the Ghana Stock Exchange. Still sticking to West Africa, moving across to Nigeria. Nigeria added 132 points to their benchmark index. Remember, Nigeria Stock Exchange has over close to 156 companies that are listed on their main board of the exchange. Now, at the end of the first weekday of trade on Monday, at least close to 552,000 shares were traded in 8,052 deals, corresponding to a market value of 13 billion naira on Monday morning. This represents a decline, however, of 12% in the volume and an improvement of 43% in the turnover and 16% improvement in the deals. Now, the market capitalization of the Nigeria Stock Exchange is also up to now 32.3 trillion Nigerian naira, which is quite very, very interesting. In aggregate, we had 122 Nigeria Stock Exchange listings participate in trade, with the day ending with 46 gainers and over 23 losers on the market. Transcorp Hotels led the gainers at a 10% appreciation in price, up to 19.36 Nigerian nairas, closing off the day's trade on Monday. Now, Transcorp Transnational Hotels is a hospitality subsidiary of Transnational Corporation Nigeria Public Limited Company. This is a diversified conglomerate with interests in, of course, the power, hospitality, and agriculture, as well as oil and gas sectors. The company is focused on consolidating all hospitality businesses in the Transcorp or Transnational group and providing strategic movements to drive the execution of its strategy. When you look at their market capitalization currently, they're the 22nd most valuable at close to 198 billion Nigerian naira, representing the market. It makes about 0.614% of the entire equity market within Nigeria Stock Exchange. Now, when you look at the current price at the Nigeria transnational hotels, they have at least appreciated at least 32.6% in the last 1 week, and in the last 4 weeks at least 158% has been added, and in the last 3 months over 204%. Very, very, very good performance from the company. Now, Transcorp Hotels is 102nd most traded on stock, unfortunately, in the Nigeria Stock Exchange over the past 3 months. With this, it means that they have traded at least 9.09 million shares within the period, having recorded 851 deals as well. That's, of course, Transcorp Hotels or Transcorporation Hotels in Nigeria. We also had the Ikeja Hotel at 10% appreciation. The hospitality industry seems to be booming in the Nigerian state, and this is evident, of course, of the good performance of the hospitality stocks like Ikeja Hotels and Transcorp Hotels. Ikeja also added 10% on Monday, and then Academy Press added 10% with Thomas Wyatt Nigeria as well, adding 10% to their share price. On the losing side, however, Unity Bank came out last with an end-of-day depreciation of 10% at a closing price of 0.99 Nigerian Naira per share. It was followed by Japol Golden Ventures as well, coming in at the bottom with 9.23% depreciation, and Veritas Capital Assurance at an 8.7% depreciation, whereas the Secure Electronic Technology had at least 7.89% depreciation in price. Access Holdings, on the other hand, recorded the highest volume to a tune of 74.6 million shares traded yesterday. Access Bank is a financial institution based in Nigeria, operating via a network of more than 600 branches and service outlets across over 12 countries within Africa, with over 30 million customers that are registered under Access Bank. Now, listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange since 1998, the bank has over 900,000 shareholders at Nigeria Stock Exchange and has recorded a phenomenal banking growth trajectory over the past decade. Following its merger with Diamond Bank in March 2019, Access Bank became one of Africa's largest retail banking institutions, and the bank has now subsidiaries in sub-Saharan Africa and in the United Kingdom, as well as United Arab Emirates, with representative offices in China, Lebanon, and India. Access Bank Holdings has a price of 15.25 Nigerian Naira after yesterday's appreciation at 0.3 Nigerian Naira appreciation, which was a 2.01% appreciation in price. Their longer-term performance has also been quite well. Looking at their 1 week performance, you're seeing a value of 3.04% appreciation, and then a 4 week performance of 38.6% appreciation, and a 3 month performance of 71.4% that has been so far recorded on the company's back. When you look at the current price of 15.25 Nigerian Naira as well, in the year-to-date performance, they have added 79.4%. So they're doing quite well in the long term as well. And now, of course, we're already halfway through the year. So that's also their 6 month performance closely there relating. Access Holdings, interestingly, is the second most traded owned stock on the Nigeria Stock Exchange. Meaning many people are very interested in the stock, especially traders on the Nigeria Stock Exchange. When you look at the Access Corporation within the last 3 months, they have recorded a total volume of 5.13 billion Ugandan shillings, rather Nigerian Naira, and this is after 28,000 1,690 deals within the same period. So it's a pretty interesting stock and pretty awesome there from Nigeria Stock Exchange. We also had Boa Cement having a 45.4 million shares volume, and Guarantee Trust Holdings at 44.8 million. Nigeria Stock Exchange is really a big stock exchange. Looking at the figures here, we have having a single company trade over 70 million shares in a single day, another trade over 40 million shares, and having a market turnover on a single day of close to 13 billion. That's amazing. That's quite something that we should be looking up to as well here on the Uganda Securities Exchange. But you can be a trader across borders, so you don't have to be limited. You can be able to make bounds and go out there and be ambitious and trade, for example, on exchanges like Nigeria Stock Exchange to grow the African capital market. Now, the benchmark index on Nigeria Stock Exchange, consequent of good performance from stocks like Access Bank Holdings, appreciated by 132 points, moving up to at least 59,338 points, representing a one-week gain of 0.55% in growth, and a four-week gain of 12.34%, and overall year-to-date gains of 15.78%. Implying the markets in Nigeria are generally healthy at the moment, and we hope they stay that way. Coming back to Central Africa, Zimbabwe Stock Exchange appreciated by over 2,190 points. And when you look at the big participants in the market, they did have an aggregate about 29 stocks participating in trade, and the day ending with 18 gainers and over 7 losers. The Kafka group led the gainers with a total appreciation of 14.9%, whereas this was followed by Star Africa Corporation and FBC Holdings, as well as True Worths at 11.53% appreciation. On the losing side, we had the Makels at least come out at the bottom with an end-of-day depreciation of at least 4.8% on Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. Let's come back home to East Africa and start with Uganda. The Uganda Securities Exchange has 18 listings. And when you look at the performance over the last one day, at least over 4 equities have done their trading as per the Monday data, ending the day with 4 winners and 4 losers on the market. The main participants included MTN Uganda, Umeme, and Uganda Clays, as well as Bank of Baroda Uganda. Those were the big traders for Monday. Now, when you look at the market movements, generally speaking, the gainers were cross listings. That is Nation Media Group, KCB, Jubilee Holdings Limited, Centum Investments, and Kenya Airways. Now, the Nation Media Group stock appreciated by 3.53%, up to 503.58 Ugandan shillings, whereas the KCB Group appreciated by 0.21%, up to a price of 771.72. The Jubilee Holdings stock at least appreciated 0.04%, up to 4,447.20 Ugandan shillings. Centum Investments also came in there as a gainer. On the losing side, unfortunately, these were domestic listings mainly, with the Bank of Baroda Uganda depreciating by 6.47% to a price of 16 Ugandan shillings. Remember, we did have the bonus shares there on the market very recently at 10 shillings, and that realized a very huge drop in price from averages of 85 shillings to now 14 shillings. Well, the price has depreciated also from yesterday's performance from 16 Ugandan shillings to 14 Ugandan shillings. MTN Uganda also dropped up some value at a 2.83% depreciation down to 165 Ugandan shillings per share. Equity Bank Limited also dropped off 1.02%, down to 979.69 Ugandan shillings. And East African Breweries Limited at least lost 0.13%, down to 3,976 Ugandan shillings per share. When you look at the benchmark index, the OSHA index at least dropped 8.92 points and was down to 998.16 points, representing a 1 week loss of 3.36% and a 4 week loss of now 1.22% on the exchange. Yes, there's a little bit more work really required out there for our basically stock exchange. There is more to be done. Bank of Baroda seem to be having hopes of maybe rising through the ranks, as of course due to they have had a little bit of sliding back to the former prices, but this has not yet been realized. Now at 14 shillings, they still have a long journey to go. If we are to go back to their initial maybe 75, 85 shillings, it will take a lot of effort and work, because now they are raising 8.5% losses in the last one quarter. Now we are almost winding down the second quarter, and we are starting almost a new financial year this next Saturday actually. We're going to be starting over a new financial year. So we hope for better performance, we hope for better trading and much more activity as well on the exchange. Moving on to Nairobi Securities Exchange. On Monday, Nairobi Securities Exchange realized a trade of over close to 48 listings, and the day ended with close to 323 million Kenyan shillings worth of stock traded on the Nairobi Securities Exchange in 938 deals and over 14.4 million shares on the market. Now the day ended with 48 participants in trade, and the day ended as well with 14 gainers and 24 losers. The chief gainer was Longhorn Publishers, gaining up to 9.55% appreciation in price, closing off the day at 2.41 Kenyan shillings per share. And East African Portland Cement Company at 7.62% appreciation, whereas Everready East Africa at least added 7.32%, and Bamburi Cement added 5.6% value on their stock. Express Kenya was the loser of the day, the biggest loser of the day, coming out last with an end of day depreciation of 10% and closing off the day with 3.6 Kenyan shillings per share. EGADS as well lost at least about 7.69%, whereas Flame Tree Group Holdings at least also lost 4.62% as well on the market. Nairobi Securities Exchange lost as well 4.44% on their stock price. Safaricom recorded the highest volume at 8.2 million shares and was followed by Kenya Reinsurance Corporation at exactly 2.13 million, whereas Equity Group Holdings added at least 1.34 million shares to their docket. Now, reports coming in from the East African Capital Markets Authority in Kenya. When you look at the reports now, it shows that the Nairobi Securities Exchange stocks, most of them have realized a few shortages in capital, and they might need to collect more capital. According to the Kenya Capital Markets Authority, it has stepped up surveillance on proceeds of financing raised from the public amid an emerging trend of corporate failures after raising funds from the public through equity and bond issues. Now, our sources understand that the latest spate of corporate failures spreading jitters within the investment fraternity has also elicited debate on the adequacy of the corporate disclosures and the role of transaction advisory firms, and of course the oversight role played by the regulators to safeguard the investor interest in capital raising initiatives. We quote from a circular. We have issued a circular on this, and we are following up, and of course the ongoing inspections of the projects that are being done to ensure that they are in line with the companies. According to the Capital Markets Authority, it said that once they get their quarterly returns, they will follow the trend for the issue, and now they even are going to actually do an inspection on the ground to see how the money has been used over time. According to Wycliffe Shamia, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Kenyan Capital Markets Authority. Yeah, that's the reports coming in from Kenya. Not so good, but we will keep you following and updating you on what will be happening in Kenya there on their platform as well. Remember, the show is proudly brought to you by Altex East Africa. With Altex, you can buy bonds across East Africa. Simply dial *292# and follow the prompts to invest with Altex East Africa. Altex, you can do something new. And there you have it, my friend. Thank you so much for tuning in and for watching Smart 24 TV. Remember to follow us on Twitter and several other social media platforms, and we keep in touch. More business coming up, and stay tuned. Have a lovely day. See you tomorrow.